I really like this little dude who rolls around and just picks up materials for me. I think that's pretty cool. I did not really look at. I saw NL play a bit of it, and it's a bit of a nightmare. It's hard for me to convince Chancer to do any remote play shit. Chancer doesn't have a controller, and he also refuses to buy one. He also refuses to let me buy him one. I don't even... It's just, there's like a lot of visual clutter in the game. I don't even know if I would really call it a bullet hell. I don't know if you've been here for the argument, but I'm very particular about bullet hells. Bullet hells are not games with a bunch of bullets on the screen. Bullet hells are games where where the bullets create a maze, right? Touhou is the quintessential bullet hell. Like, I think that every genre basically has one game that you can point to it and say, this is this genre. Like, when we talk about this genre, this is the game that comes to mind, right? Touhou is that for bullet hells. No! It's a disaster, dude. So, like, Chancer was calling some Isaac bosses bullet hells, and I was like, Isaac doesn't really have, like, Hush, like, maybe, like, some parts of Mega Stan, but I was like, but Isaac is not a bullet hell. Gungeon has a couple of bullet hells. Like, the Dragon is a bullet hell. For that last segment where you, like, you know, are, like, dodging through. And Chancer was like, stop gatekeeping. And I'm like, I'm not gatekeeping. There's a difference. There's like a really large difference. Like Touhou, like there's like a path he wants you to take, right? He's like, you press up and then right and then up here. Hush is like, oh, you know, like, just don't get hit. You know, like, do whatever as long as you don't get hit by something. And he was like, have you ever played a Touhou game? I was like, no, but I've watched them. And then he was like, alright, well, go play one. And so I started playing one. I was like, okay, this is like basically what I said. I think you'd be surprised how many people have played Touhou games now. Toho's in Smash, right? Isn't there a Toho in Smash? Is like a Mii fighter costume? It's like, Toho is such a fucking marvel, right? Because he also just does it like for the love of the game. Because I don't think he like makes like a ton off of it, right? What does he do for money? Like, what's his job? I actually have no idea how this prospecting meter works. Have you actually, like, seen, like, videos of him? He's also, like, super handsome. You know, I don't know, you know, obviously you don't pay, like, too much attention to VTubers, right? But, some of the Hollows are, like, huge Toho fans, and they actually got to do an interview with them. And, like, the first part of the interview, it's just kind of one of them, like, freaking. They're like, I'm actually talking to Zune. They're like, what the hell has my life become? And it's, like, hilarious because, like, you know, like, in reality, like, they have, like, a ton more, like, followers and shit than him. Also, I definitely should have mined that out. I think I could have planted a better tree here. Look at that, a rat. Chancer would love him. It's so weird to me that Chancer likes rats. Yeah. It is. I've kind of talked about how it's such like a... Like, I've already used it's such a marvel that, like, this guy just kind of, like, threw together a game, and, like, people just fell the fuck in love with it, right? Okay, I'm starting to understand how this prospecting meter works. And I'm deciding that it probably needs a couple of upgrades. No, it's probably better unupgraded. Because if it gives me a range of like 4 tiles, I can make my branches like super wide. let's... Oh, shit. New upgrade! Yo! It's like a ton of new upgrades here. It's 5 tiles. It's pretty, like, big. I don't know, I don't really think that I want to upgrade, like, most of this. Like, maybe the 8 one, but having it update faster seems like way better. But regardless, I think we should... Huh, it doesn't look like it does as much damage anymore. Because it doesn't say it really does damage. Okay, I don't have enough time. Just yeet some blocks on the way up. Oh! I can't remember if they got rid of wave scaling in the game. So, one of the things that I kinda really didn't like about this game was that the game actually scales its difficulty. It does adaptive difficulty based on, like, the resources that you find and collect. So that's why you'll see, I don't mine out the triangles very often. Yeah, that's because mining them out is the trigger. We can carry it a little bit more. And I don't know, like, they do it so that the game is always kinda supposed to feel like you're barely making it right. And they swear that it's been, like, super balanced. Okay, and by they, I mean a lot of people in their Discord. This is another indie game Discord problem, in my opinion. Where, like, people have been playing the game for, like, you know, since its earliest beta, and so it becomes a part of their identity for some reason. Because they think that, like, they're part of the dev team or something, right? And so they're like, we all tested this, like, forever, it's very good, and a lot of us are like, okay, but, like, as soon as you realize it, because it doesn't take, like, I've, you know, naturally kind of noticed it, where I was like, man, I feel like the wave after I find, like, a bunch of stuff, like, it's way harder. And, like, when you look at, like, the straight-up code for, like, the adaptive difficulty stuff, it really does look very tame. But, like, that's irrelevant in the face of, yeah, but I notice it. Like, you guys keep saying that nobody will notice it, but also, like, we're telling you that we notice. The game's, like, hardest difficulty also has this problem where people are, like, insane elitist about it. Or I was like, the second hardest difficulty is, like, pretty easy. And the hardest difficulty is, like, a bit of a jump. And they were like, well, you know, it's just that, like, not every game is for everybody, and, you know, like, maybe you should, like, go back to Farmville. And it's like, wow. And I hit them with a, why don't you go play fucking Resident Evil 5 professional difficulty, and then we'll have a fucking conversation. Wow, I hate that noise. No. Honestly, it's like a similar problem with Backpack Hero. As I've talked about a lot, I actually really liked Backpack Hero's demo. As soon as the game came out on Steam, basically, I bought it. But since it's come out on Steam, they've made a number of decisions that I was not really a fan of. And it kind of soured, like, my taste on the game. Because they, like... Honestly, they kind of pulled an Apex Legends, where they were like degenerative strategies. And people are like, ugh. You guys are just mad because they made the game harder, and it was so easy that no one was even engaging with any of the game mechanics. And it's like... Like, you just, like, decide that this is the only game mechanic. So, but the thing I'm specifically referring to, because there's, like, a lot of time where I just the whole W right now, was before there was this really rare event called a Forge, where you could take an item from your backpack and spend money and modify it. You could, like, give it, like, a new... thing. You could just, like, increase its damage. You could make it so it gave you, like, more energy per turn, which is, like, pretty huge, right? And, like, among other things. And I thought those were pretty cool, and then I think most other people were like, this is pretty cool. It sucks that it's so fucking rare, though. So then, they were like, okay, we're gonna make it so that there's one per floor. And we're gonna kind of, like, rebalance, like, the effects that it can give. And after they made that change, I was like, dude, this owns! Like, this is super cool. Because, like, now it felt like I was, like, developing, like, my run a bit more. There was a lot more, like, purpose to money. Which I had kind of talked about before. There really wasn't, like, too much purpose. Like, money was still, like, good to have for, like, the times where it became relevant, right? Where, like, basically, you know, you did get a forage that was good for you, or like the bigger one, which is, like, you find a shop that actually managed to have an item that's useful to you. And always making sure that you can, like, afford healing if you ever have a bad enough combat. Yo, let's go. And then, they decided that they would rework the forages. So now, Well, then they decided that every item could only be forged one time. And the reasoning was that they were not happy with how people were able to beat the game with, like, common equipment instead of, like, legendaries and, like, epics and rares and shit. They were like, it's too easy for you to take your starting weapon and just forge it and win with it. Because their reasoning was that no. And their reasoning was because when that happens, you don't actually engage with any inventory management. You just upgrade the same weapon and nothing, you never actually manage anything in your backpack. And that's it. Or you just upgrade like the same weapon over and over until it becomes like overpowered, that you can't lose. And I was like, well, one, that's just like wrong. Two, like, so what? Like, who cares? You still, there's no way that you avoid engaging with the mechanics of the game. Like, in order to afford, like, to be able to afford that, you have to engage with the mechanics of the game. Because you have to, like, you know, afford to make all those forge upgrades. Which means that you are, like, probably carrying items in your inventory to sell. Which is still managing your inventory. Like, I was like, there's basically no way that you're gonna convince me that, like, people do not manage their inventories while doing the strategy that you're talking about. And I was actually never given, like, a counter example. Or I was never, like, given, like, an argument to that. But, like, the developers still just kind of, like, went with it. And I was like, okay, this is stupid. And it kind of soured me on, like, the whole game. I'll probably, like, still go back to it just to, like, kind of check it out again, but I need to give it more time. Because I really, really liked a lot of the dynamics that it brought. And I really didn't think it was that overpowered. I mean, like, the game has, like, some large balance problems, but I don't really think that that was it. And, like, but also, like, another big thing is that, like, we have, like, the data that shows that, like, people don't win with, like, the legendary items very often. They win a lot more with, like, commons and stuff. And I straight up was like, yeah, that's because the legendaries are ass. It's not because, like, I'm upgrading my common weapon, it's because the legendaries are ass. If you want me to win with the legendaries, make them not ass. Like, for the most part, the legendaries all come with, like, some horrendous downside. And, like, way too many, so, like, the game has, like, you know, like, an energy system, like, okay, like, doing this costs 1, this costs 2, right? But, like, so many of the legendaries, at least in my opinion and, like, my, you know, experience, a lot of them cost, like, 2 energy to use, so when you only have 2 energy, right? Well, I mean, I only get to use it, like, once a turn. So, like, no shit, I'm gonna choose, like, weapons that I get to use 3 times at 1 energy, right? Because, like, that's just how multiplication works, baby. Like, the legendaries need to be, like, a lot better. I'm about to take, like, 1,000,000 damage. No. No.